Cersei Lannister was moments away from losing everything until she didn't. Imagine a world where her cunning and cruelty prevailed over Daenerys' fire and blood. With Qyburn's scorpions neutralizing Drogon and the Mountain eliminating key threats, Cersei turns Daenerys' invasion into a slaughter. The North rebels, Jon Snow is captured, and Sansa's alliance crumbles. This is the darkest timeline for Westeros, where Cersei's rule is absolute. How does she maintain power? Who survives her purge? We explore the chilling aftermath of Cersei's ultimate victory. Daenerys' dragons were her most powerful weapons, but Cersei knew their weakness. Wildfire could have been the key to stopping them before they ever reached King's Landing. We saw what Wildfire could do when Cersei destroyed the Sept of Baelor, wiping out her enemies in an instant. That explosion proved how deadly the substance could be when used strategically against threats. Dragons might rule the skies, but they become vulnerable targets when flying low or resting. Wildfire's rapid spread and intense heat would make it nearly impossible for them to escape once caught in the blast. Historical records from Westeros show how the Mad King Aerys II planned to burn the entire city rather than surrender. Cersei, with her ruthless instincts, might have followed that same path, except instead of using wildfire as a last resort, she could have turned it into an offensive weapon. Cersei's strategy would likely mirror her past moves. She doesn't wait for battles to come to her. She strikes first. Imagine wildfire traps hidden along common flight paths, rigged to explode when dragons flew overhead, or stockpiles placed inside structures Daenerys was expected to target. One well-timed detonation could have grounded or even killed a dragon before the fighting truly began. Military tactics against aerial threats often involve forcing the enemy into predictable positions. Wildfire could have been deployed in a way that herded the dragons into kill zones, where scorpion ballistas or archers waited. Without clear skies to maneuver, Daenerys' forces would lose their biggest advantage early on. Even if only one dragon fell, the psychological blow would shatter morale. The decision to use wildfire wouldn't just be tactical, it would be personal. Cersei saw Daenerys as everything she hated, a younger, more powerful queen threatening her rule. Destroying the dragons wouldn't just weaken an army, it would erase Daenerys' claim to superiority. And with no dragons left, the Dothraki and Unsullied would face a fortified city alone, one prepared to burn them all if needed. With wildfire in play, the battle for King's Landing might never have reached the streets. Instead, Daenerys' invasion could have ended in flames before she ever set foot inside the city gates. That sudden shift in power would leave her allies scrambling while Cersei tightened her grip on the throne. Jon Snow's refusal to bend the knee would have sealed his fate in Cersei's Westeros. His true parentage as a Targaryen heir alone made him a threat, but his leadership in the North and reputation for honor made him dangerous in a different way. Cersei didn't just eliminate rivals, she crushed symbols of resistance. History proves this. Look at what she did to the Tyrells, the Sparrows, even her own Uncle Kevin. None were given trials or negotiations. They were removed, decisively and permanently. Political strategy would demand Cersei act fast. Jon's popularity with the Northern Lords and the Night's Watch meant leaving him alive risked rebellion. Capturing him would be priority one. The show established Cersei's pattern. She lured enemies into traps using their own morals against them. She might promise safe passage for negotiations, then ambush him with the Mountain. Or manipulate a lesser ally like a Karstark or Glover to betray him. Jon's fatal flaw was trusting honor mattered to foes like Cersei. Execution would be the likely outcome, but not a quick one. Cersei understood spectacle. She'd make it public, perhaps in the same courtyard where Ned Stark died. The parallel would be intentional, another Stark figurehead beheaded to cement Lannister rule. Another detail would twist the knife, forcing Sansa or Arya to witness it if she caught them too. The message would echo across Westeros. Defiance dies with its leaders. There's a slim chance she'd imprison Jon first. Not out of mercy, but to break Northern morale slowly. Keep him in the black cells, let rumors of his torture spread. This served two purposes. It would demoralize rebels waiting for rescue, and it might draw remaining Stark loyalists into a doomed rescue attempt. Cersei used this tactic before when she held Arya Sand's daughter captive. The logistics of containing Jon matter too. Chains and ordinary guards wouldn't suffice for a proven warrior. Qyburn's influence suggests darker measures. Drugged wine to weaken him, or even experimental paralysis like Gregor Clegane endured. Physical restraint would pair with psychological warfare. False updates about his sister's deaths, or fabricated confessions from his allies. Jon's death wouldn't just remove a rival, it would trigger cascading consequences. The Night's Watch, already depleted, might dissolve entirely without his leadership. Wildling allies could scatter or retaliate blindly. Most critically, northern lords who followed Jon wouldn't rally behind Sansa easily. Their infighting would give Cersei time to install puppet rulers like a Bolton or another turncoat house. The Stark legacy wouldn't just end, it would be erased. Cersei had waited years for this moment. Tyrion captured, helpless, finally within her grasp. She blamed him for Joffrey's death, for Myrcella's suffering, for every humiliation she'd endured. His execution wouldn't just be about justice in her mind, it would be about sending a message to every traitor in Westeros. Her methods were always calculated. Remember what she did to Septa Unella after the Walk of Shame? The slow torture, the psychological games? Cersei understood pain wasn't just physical. Tyrion's death would be a spectacle. She'd likely stage it in the same throne room where he killed Tywin, forcing him to kneel before the Iron Throne one last time. The symmetry would be intentional. Crowds would gather, lords would watch, and no one would forget what happened to those who crossed the Lion Queen. The execution itself wouldn't be quick. Psychological warfare was Cersei's specialty. She might drag it out over days, parading him through the streets first, letting the people spit on him like they once spat on her. Or she could revive an old Lannister tradition, the lion pits. Tossing him in with starving beast would be poetic, a nod to House Lannister's sigil while ensuring a brutal public end. Experts in sibling rivalry point out Cersei's hatred wasn't just political. Tyrion represented everything she resented. Their father's grudging respect for his mind, his ability to outmaneuver her at every turn. Removing him wouldn't just eliminate a threat, it would erase the living proof that someone she considered lesser had beaten her repeatedly. That's why she wouldn't settle for a quiet strangling in the black cells. She'd want him to know in his last moments that she won. The aftermath would ripple across Westeros. With Tyrion dead, Daenerys' coalition would lose its sharpest strategist. More importantly, Cersei would prove no one was safe, not even her own blood. Any lord considering rebellion would remember Tyrion's fate. Genius, connections. Even a famous name meant nothing against her wrath. She might keep his head on a spike outside the Red Keep for months, a decaying reminder of the cost of defiance. And in true Cersei fashion, she'd probably pour herself a glass of wine as she watched the crows pick at his remains. For her, this wasn't just justice. It was personal. Arya Stark would be the last hope against Cersei after the defeat of Daenerys and the fall of Winterfell. Her training with the Faceless Men gave her skills no ordinary assassin possessed. Face swapping, stealth, and patience. These abilities let her infiltrate places no enemy should reach, just as she did with Walder Frey. But Cersei wouldn't be an easy target like Frey. She knew the game too well. After surviving multiple assassination plots, her defenses would be layered and ruthless. The Red Keep would be locked down like never before. Cersei had learned from past mistakes. Every servant would be vetted, every guard on high alert. The Mountain never left her side, and his presence alone meant Arya couldn't rely on brute force. Assassination attempts historically fail against rulers who expect them. Security experts note that the best protection isn't just walls or weapons, it's unpredictability. Cersei would change her routines, use decoys, and restrict access to only those she absolutely trusted. Arya's usual tactics, assuming someone else's face would be riskier here. One wrong move, one slip in mannerisms, and the disguise would fail. Yet Arya would try. Her kill list had fewer names left, and Cersei was at the top. She might attempt to pose as a servant, a guardsman, even someone Cersei knew well. But Cersei's paranoia would work against her. She trusted almost no one, not even her own advisors. Qyburn's little birds would be watching for inconsistencies in behavior. The Mountain's instincts for threats were nearly superhuman. If Arya got too close, he'd sense it. The confrontation itself would be swift. Arya might get a dagger's length from Cersei before the Mountain intervened. He was faster than he looked. Even if she landed a strike, his armor and unnatural endurance meant killing him first would be nearly impossible. Once caught, Arya's fate would be worse than death. Cersei had experimented with prisoners before. Remember Elleria Sand? Arya could expect torture, mutilation, or a public execution designed to crush whatever hope remained in the North. Her failure would be the final blow to House Stark. With Jon dead, Sansa broken, and Arya captured or killed, no one would be left to oppose Cersei. The North's rebellion would end not with a battle, but with a whisper. One last Stark silenced. And Cersei would sit on the Iron Throne, unchallenged, knowing she had defeated every enemy who ever stood against her. Cersei winning would have plunged Westeros into permanent darkness. With Daenerys defeated, her dragons dead, and the Stark line extinguished, no one remains to challenge the Lion Queen. The Seven Kingdoms would live in fear under her rule, rebels executed, cities burned, and any dissent crushed before it began. Qyburn's experiments might create new horrors to enforce loyalty, while the Mountain becomes her personal executioner. The realm survives, but as a shadow of itself, ruled by paranoia and brutality. Is this the ending Westeros deserved? Let us know your thoughts. What happens next in Cersei's reign of terror? Comment below.